So today we're here with Christina. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and what led you to where you are now?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on this podcast and also for listening in. My name is Christina Chen. I'm the CEO and founder of First AI Group. So my background, really, I've been in tech for 20 years. That's my background's in technology. I've come from a computer science background. I studied computer science. I was a software engineer and ex Microsoft. But the vast majority of my career has really been on the business side of technology. So running software businesses and investing in them. I've been a technology investor for a good few years too. So really that my path has been sort of between the business and technology sides, not only having seen how solutions have been built, but also how companies and businesses have been built from technology startups all the way to growth to very successful enterprise scale organizations. It's really my background. And First AI, really, I built it for my younger self. It's something that's very personal to me. When the young Christina came out of university, and I've learned all about computers in this degree called computer science, but I felt that was very different. What I had learned in university was very different from what the job or the businesses side needed from me. So that gap, we're all very familiar with, the sort of education to employment gap was there. And I think that gap is just getting wider in this fast changing world of AI and technology and everything. So really built First AI is all about helping businesses to adopt AI technologies by providing them with enterprise ready AI specialists. And these amazing specialists are those young Christinas that come out of university. And I'm personally also very passionate about diversity in tech, in AI in general. I didn't see many people that were like me when I graduated, and I just want to do a small part in helping AI and technology be a more inclusive space.
Wow, that's amazing. As a recent university graduate myself, I really do know what you mean about that gap. And I think that there aren't enough jobs out there that want to bridge that, like you want to do with First AI or what you are doing with First AI. I don't think my mum and I were having a conversation about the lack of entry level jobs, and the fact that there's nothing there to get people into work now. We really are seeing such a big epidemic of young graduates being out of work because they can't fill that gap that's needed.
Yeah. I think also I can understand from a business perspective, and this is why, First AI was born or exists it's a for-profit organization, and it's a very clear business needs as well. As we move advance with AI, businesses also under a lot of pressure to adopt this technology, from board levels all the way down to grassroots employees feeling the pressure themselves. So one big barrier is really humans who know about AI. And so there's a conundrum of, as you say, there's a huge amount of, you hear layoffs, you hear hiring freezes, you hear record high unemployment rate from university graduates, which is really sad, really. And then on the other hand, you have companies scratching their heads as the number one barrier to adopting this technology is people who know how to do it, right? So this is exactly what we do, is bridging that gap. Is actually, there are some really talented people out there if we make them enterprise ready, and that's the sort of the gap we're talking about here. Client ready, business ready, enterprise ready, they can hit the ground running. And that's really where then businesses can really absorb that and convert that into impact results. And that's what they're after. And that's why they're cautious to hire raw talent, but they need more ready talent.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure we're going to talk more about that. But I just want to roll back a little bit, because you decided to complete a computer science degree. Were you always the sort of technical child, the one who wanted to know how things worked? Or how did you discover your love for this?
Interesting. I stumbled upon it. So computer wasn't such a big thing back then, and also computer science wasn't the hot degree. It was still, at that time was kind of a geeky degree in the corner somewhere in the science department. When I just got in, I actually very vividly remember, I think in my high school years, I saw a TV program of someone talking about innovation, and they were talking about your fridge can know when your milk has run out and go and order it yourself. As many years ago, it's getting there. We're still not quite there. But it piqued my own interest. That's all it mattered. I was like, whoa, this is really fascinating. And I didn't know much about it. I barely had a computer at home just about at that point. And I just applied and not knowing much. And that, the rest is history. And I'm so glad I was on that journey. But it was a TV program that changed my mind.
It's great to hear. It's always lovely to hear what sparks it in the first place. Sometimes it's a family member, sometimes it's a book or a TV show. When I was growing up, there was a show called Tomorrow's World, and that used to talk about all of these inventions that are going to be taking us into the future. And I remember everyone used to watch that and be so inspired by it. I don't know if there's anything like that now, actually. So maybe it's something we need to reignite. So I would understand a little bit more about First AI Group and how you help organizations build this real AI capability from within. You've talked about the bridging of it, but just to understand a little bit more, is it like a consultancy you're offering, or are you offering staff who are ready to implement? What exactly is your service?
It's a very pioneering sort of business model. Basically, what we do is we go to companies and say, right, we help you thrive. We help you use this technology. In fact, we have two specializations right now. One is adoption. So that's adoption specialists, we call adoption managers, who come in and run, you can call them change management programs, right? So classic change management programs to help employees, workforces to adopt AI. So training, comms, communication, why we need it, why you're being trained up on that. But really importantly is use case, right? So it's adoption managers who know about AI, sit by the elbow of that person in sales, in HR, etc. Say, hey, did you know this? Did you know you've been doing this? Or if you click a few buttons here, that's going to automate that process, and that's going to make your lives easier here, save you time there. That's the grassroots running adoption programs with what we call AI champions on the ground. These champions then get their use case, because it's not just about training, it's actually their day-to-day. Did you know you can use AI to do ABC? These things for you, and they then become advocates within the organization, and that's a lot of rollout programs, adoption rollout programs we run. That's number one. The other specialization is we see now more and more companies getting more advanced. Is okay, great. Training my workforce, I'm upskilling them. Yes, you're identifying use cases for me. Now there's all this thing about AI, about agents, right? More advanced builds of things, robots that can do stuff for humans autonomously to some extent. I mean, there's a lot of automation technology, different degrees of that. So then we start to build. So first is adoption, and we now also have agent engineers that can build AI for organizations. Now, the main business model, really innovation here, is companies can, get these hands on these consultants, they are on day rate to start with. So it's quite flexible to start with, is that they have ability to, or option to convert them to their own employees. This is a key one, because a lot of companies want to start with experimentation or low cost, low kind of tie-in. Let's try this, build this. Let's get to know you. Let's get to know some of your people. Let's say we take 3 people, they're building on this. And then as you get to know them, you want to actually transfer that knowledge over time to you. You don't want to be renting AI top knowledge all the time. You want to own that as an organization. So how do you do that? You can't go to a big consulting firm and say, I'm taking your consultants here. No. They've been working on my project for 18 months. Yeah. So we give them, our business model allows them to convert from sort of more consulting, more project day rate model to keeping some of the best as their in-house capability. And that best of the both world allows them to have a kernel, have a core team that they can build around and build that AI capability.
I love it. And actually on both sides, because the consultants who are working for you can decide if that's the kind of organization that they would want to work for as well. And there's sort of no hard feelings if, whatever is decided at the end of it. So yes. I really really love that model. And yeah, that it's very innovative, actually, quite different. So yeah, just a brilliant idea. Yeah, really love it. Can hear all the creativity that comes into the way that you do things. Yeah,
Yeah,
really good.
it really is amazing. And it's definitely probably what more businesses should do to try and get people into work and really help themselves with AI and how fast it's moving as well. I was wondering, when you're working with these businesses, are they always really open to integrating AI, or is there some pushback?
There's always a spectrum, right? We're all on that spectrum. Everyone's different points on their journey. And we do start to see that gap widening between the kind of the real front runners and the laggards, right? And it's starting to stretch that gap there. And also within an organization, you will always have people who are a bit more risk takers and out there and try everything. And then there's ones who are more cautious. It's always a balance. I think by, this conversation has moved on. If we had this conversation 18 months ago, or even 12 months ago, 9 months ago, there's a lot of AI anxiety. Is this going to take my job, etc. In fact, at this point, it's probably more AI fatigue, to the point it's like everyone's been bombarded by AI for so long, and rightly so. A lot of decision makers, we talk to CTOs all the time, they're being more cautious than before because they've been sort of bombarded or by this solution, by that solution that's going to solve your problems, etc. Last count, more than 300,000 AI tools out there in the market. It's just,
Wow.
there's you're probably one coming out every day, right? Or every 5 minutes. So this, from a technology buyer's perspective, from an enterprise perspective, you also got to be quite deliberate as to how you choose the technology, etc. So it's really fine balance there, and we see that every day.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like people are a bit more discerning with how they use AI and what AI they use as well. I was having a conversation, I've had multiple conversations this week actually about this exact thing, where there's been so much AI and people have been so open to using it that it's almost like we've forgotten some of the skills that we had anyway. So it's like overcompensating with AI. How do you see that impacting your company as well?
We always talk about use case first, not technology first. It's got to be use case, use case, use case. And works quite well for us, and also all of the clients we work with. Is every time we run an adoption program, we just, we're doing a wrap up on one of them, phase one of one of them. There is 34 use cases coming out of that specific pilot rollout, right? And then once you have a list of use cases, and that's kind of homegrown from the business users themselves, different departments, etc., that's when people start to engage, right? So, well, yes, I can see it in my role, this helps me. And then you can start to prioritize, and then you can look at return on investment, which one to invest, and where do you start to look for technology solutions for that specific one, or do you build something? Do you that classic buy versus build conversation as well? If you approach it this way around, we've seen a lot of success with companies who have done that, and to drive from use cases rather than technology.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it, really? It's sort of, yeah, we're not just going to implement and then get exhausted by it. We're going to think about, what do we need it for? How can it be best used for us? Where do we need it? How do we need it? And have that idea in place. And I think that speaks to the point you made about all of the new AI that's coming out, because actually it's also not affordable. Everything's on a lot of things are on a subscription. And if you think about Copilot, just for example, and a large organization with 25,000 staff, that's a lot of money they put in to make that work. So they have to be sure that investment's going to be worthwhile, and that system's going to keep upgrading for them. Otherwise, you can't then say, oh, next week I'm just going to jump on this and jump on that. Large organizations can't do that work. So I completely see your point about the use case being first. I actually, as someone who does a lot of work really thinking about people in organizations and leadership, I was also thinking about the attitude to talent just within your organization, because most people say, well, train them up, we need to hold on to them. Even some organizations do this sort of golden handcuffs where people can never really leave because it's not, it's not commercially viable for them to do. But what you're saying is you're happy to let your staff go. Let them fly. They're talented people. We invest in them. But then we let them go. And that's quite a shift in mindset. And I just wondered sort of how you came to that point of thinking about it in that way.
Well, it does have to work economically as
Mm,
well. So we are making our money in the first 2 years or
mm,
however long period they're with us. So
yeah.
that's the point. And second is we specialize in this area where early in careers, right? There's a
Mm,
lot of movement, and we also, because we're really targeted, really niche on SaaS and enterprise ready AI jobs,
mm,
they assets, right?
mm,
If we've done a good job, they are
mm,
very highly skilled. They would have had a couple of years of experience under their belt, and that's really amazing. And we just found that by leaning into this as a
mm,
business model, it's kind of a win-win-win triangle, right?
mm,
You think about this is
mm,
for the business, they start to see, right, okay, we can really close out talent gap, can start building something with the capability that's kind of ready to go hit the ground running. And then for the individuals is, well, I get my foot in the door in the AI
mm,
career. Quite
mm,
often that's a big one for a lot of people. I just spent a little bit of time talking about this because a lot of people think AI is only for PhDs who come out of Stanford University, right?
mm,
You got to be super genius to be an AI. That's not the case. There are so many different facets of AI roles in an
mm,
organization, business related or, specific function related. You may be a lawyer who now uses
mm,
AI, etc. And that's all of those, you can play a role in yourself. So that first step's almost always the hardest. And the
mm,
first couple years under your belt is probably where the trajectory is just kind of steepest. That curve
yeah.
is the steepest, and
Mm,
where the value creation from our perspective is also the biggest. From someone who's really quite raw to someone who's standing on their 2 feet and really start to lead projects. And the third select, that's why we can make our money on that margin because of the value add we provide to enterprise. Have that wrapper around selection, around skilling, and continuously, because AI, you
mm,
don't just teach them something and that's it, go out of date in 3
yeah.
weeks. And also that kind of enterprise service wrapper is consistency around the quality of people, risk management. Do they know responsible AI, how to deploy, how to build AI that's compliant, that's secure? Because things
Mm,
can go horribly wrong here.
yeah.
So all of this is the wrapper, and that's quite a good win-win-win for all three parties.
Fabulous. So you've already started talking
Yeah.
about some of the skills, but yeah, I wonder if there are more. If you're an AI professional, what are the skills that you think are really crucial for them to be able to thrive? And I guess I think that some of it is about being entrepreneurial. I think that some of the things that entrepreneurs have are what's needed in the world now, but I'd love to know a bit more from your perspective.
Yes, absolutely. Entrepreneur spirit, the resilience, the creativity, and the ability to adapt to change. So we've distilled down this framework called the Triple C framework,
Okay.
CCC. First C is competency. So that's technical skills.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll talk about framework and I'll give some examples of how that manifests in specific roles. So first C, technical skills. You got to know your AI, right? That's if you're on an AI job. The second C is commercial. So that's all understanding business use cases. Is not just building AI or technology in a vacuum, right? And how do you communicate that back? The third C is what we call character. That's everything around interpersonal skills, communication skills. One big one for us is comfort with change, comfort with ambiguity. Because we're in this world now, it's ever changing, not just AI, and outside the AI bubble, just the world is changing so fast. Being able to adapt is really important. So we use that C framework for everything in terms of selection, in terms of development, etc. To give some examples, so for example, we have two specialists tracks right now. One is around adoption managers. So these are people who go in and run a big rollout for Copilot for AI in an enterprise. So the first thing, they got to know Copilot is the AI technology very well. They got to be really excited to talk, be passionate about it and bring, that make that infectious, right? But then the commercial awareness is really important, is being able to sit down to a salesperson, next to a salesperson, an HR person. We sit down to lawyers in different industries to understand, really quickly spot, right, did you know that's AI-able, right? That's a use case right there. And that's a big one because X, Y, Z. These are automations you can run, etc. That's hugely important. And then one big one is change management. So all our adoption managers, have learned about this change management discipline and framework, because AI is changing the way it works and not just teaching you which buttons to press. And if you look at the other track, which is our agent engineers, again, the first C, technical capability, that's in our world, Copilot Studio, that's low-code, no-code AI solutions, that's AI Azure, so Microsoft AI Foundry, and that's sort of more pro-code, more sort of sophisticated development. But again, the enterprise-ready layer is, can you translate a business problem into a technology solution? Can you communicate that back to a stakeholder, decision maker that may not be technical as you? Can you do that in, with a compliance and security wrapper around it? Every AI deploy needs to be fair, needs to be ethical, etc. There's specific standards that we adhere to, and these are the skills for if you are building and deploying AI, not just in our organization. I sort of advocate everyone who wants to get into the field to really look up and sort of learn about these principles.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
Great tips for you, Leah.
Really, really good tips for me. Very good tips for me. Thank you. I just want to jump back a little bit to talk about diversity, because we briefly touched on it and why it's important in the world of work, but also in AI. And I was wondering, how does First AI ensure inclusivity in its programs, and how you think this impacts the future of AI?
Yeah. First of all, I'm very privileged and proud to be invited here to talk about AI equity, AI for equity, because, I'm personally really passionate about this topic. Not me, first generation immigration into this country, was here as a teenager learning to speak English in the first place, and then sort of adapting to this, and being a woman of color in technology, all of that. So it's a diversity, big topic for me, personal passion. But in terms of how that translates into our business, we look at diversity. We are very data-driven organization, and always, we're engineers, right? Computer scientists background. So we want to improve every bit of our recruitment process, from talent attraction, or even how we write our job description. There's masculine word and feminine word. Just as a very simple example, we look at that and look at how inclusive the way we talk about AI is. I go on, and every part of our team go on to talk about, hey, AI is for everyone. Our mission is making AI accessible for everyone. You don't have to be nothing against PhDs. I also have, some postgraduate degrees, but it's for everyone here, for a lot more people than they expect. In terms of our selection process, we're very deliberate about assessing capability, not background. If you look across our team right now of AI specialists, it's 60% female. It's 40% kind of from minority ethnic groups. I got to caveat these numbers. We're not just, I don't want to just look at numbers, and it's really not about how people look. It's about how people think. So, for example, we have people coming from different backgrounds with some more humanity backgrounds. So you'd expect, for example, we have people from STEM, from computer science, from physics, etc. But we also have people on the team who come from organization design, from psychology, from sort of more humanity degrees, from business degrees, etc. as well. And we're quite deliberate and intentional with that. So that means when the client, on the other hand, they are inevitably getting a blend of skills coming into their organization. And these people on our team also can learn from each other. And that's been quite a virtuous cycle for us. That's sort of easier for us to maintain as well. And we've spent quite a lot of time connecting with communities and groups that are, women in tech, Black in data, etc. So a shout out on this podcast. If you're listening and you run a specific community, we'd love to connect. So we want to promote this career option to people and make them think it's also viable for them.
Yeah, I love that. I really, really love that. I especially loved hearing that your workforce was 60% women, because we had a guest on our last series who was saying that women are getting left behind when using AI. Women aren't adopting it as fast as men. So it's actually really nice to hear that. And it's also really lovely to hear about humanities graduates being included in this, because I think a big basis of AI is the humanities. I might be a bit biased as a psychology and politics graduate, but I think that you need all of those skills in order to create a flourishing workforce.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
And just to say, I've written down in big letters on my pad, is it AIable? So that's going to be something I'm going to be saying all the time now. Have you thought, is it AIable? Let's think about that. How can we save our time? So I love that. I love that term. That's
Yeah.
really, I think that's really great.
It's
So
cool to have such a diverse background for a workforce as well. There was that study, and it was the two groups, and the group that were from the more diverse background got so much more done and were way more successful than the group that was all the people that were the same.
There is plenty of study, I think, data now about how diverse teams perform better. I think in AI specifically, it's not just sort of a data point anymore. We do literally have clients asking, businesses asking, we need more inclusive teams. So, come with more inclusive talent to us, please. Because AI, when you're running some machine learning models, is how people think, and just sort of some natural biases, human nature, etc. By having a diverse team, you can think of your data more inclusively. You can think about how you approach problems more inclusively. You avoid that problem where sort of garbage in, garbage out, data in, bias, data out. That can perpetuate quite quickly. It's not just kind of a DEI initiative anymore. It's actually a business demand from us.
completely. Yeah. Thank you for making that point. It's just so important. The bias is there because in the data is biased, and we need to find ways to work that through and make sure that we challenge the data or input better data or know the questions to ask. And you can only do that, as you said, through cognitive diversity and other forms of diversity as well. So I love that. Inclusion is at the heart of everything I do. So I'm really pleased to hear that organizations are engaged in a commercial and also a committed way, as opposed to, let me just tick a box and know that I've done it. And that's great as well for the people who join their team who come from your organization too. So great to hear. And great to hear that you're practicing what you preach as well. This idea of this is what we stand for, this is what we're about. And as a result, these are the kind of people we attract to our organization. Yeah, like so many levels. So looking ahead, what trends do you see in AI adoption, and how are you as an organization preparing to meet the needs? And this is hard because, as you said, 300, however many new AI programs each day, we can't completely foresee what's coming. But yeah, just some thoughts would be great.
Yeah, happy to share what we see on the ground. Who knows what the future brings us. Well, what an exciting time to be alive, isn't it? So what we've seen very clearly in recent sort of months and weeks is companies getting more sophisticated, more advanced, right, with AI. So it started with, let's get our heads around it, right? This whole thing, ChatGPT came about and it kind of sparks a massive discussion. Let's put some strategy around it, get our acts together. And we moved from sort of strategy mode to execution mode last year or 2025. It's execution. And around there is, again, from sort of more productivity led. Let's use AI to get some information faster, write my emails faster, etc. It's still very useful to let's think about more sophisticated use cases like whole business or process automation, general productivity to business process automation. And by the way, AI automation, people are sort of using this interchangeably these days. A lot of it is not real true AI, but more automation. The whole point here is people start to think about this, is it AI-able point? I think it's really open. Automation has been around for a long time, but it's reopened that conversation. And we see a lot of companies starting to think, okay, I've now got everyone trained up on AI literacy. They can now use it. They, write it, meeting recording, emails, etc. But can I look at sort of functional specific workflows and make that more efficient? So that will continue. And some more advanced companies are looking to build business models or client-facing products and services using AI, more native AI to disrupt their industry or have more value add on top. That's where kind of how we see the journey going on, and some of the front runners will be further down that journey, and every company will probably have a mix of those. And what we then sort of on the ground, overarching is that capability build. Again, it's starting from maybe 18 months ago, 24 months ago, is let's leverage advisors, you leverage consultants, let's leverage experts in this field to sort of quickly scale up and sort of get our heads around this. But now people are seeing, well, AI is not a fad, actually, it's going to be here to stay. So it's strategic. It's imperative for us to build some capabilities in-house. We can't forever rent AI capability. We need to build our own. That's the journey that companies are on, starting to, because again, it hadn't been around so much. I mean, a lot of companies had machine learning probably as a data science, data engineering, etc. It's easier to build on sort of around there. But for a lot of companies who hadn't been impacted by machine learning, 80% of the industries now start to need to think about it. I was just speaking with the CTO of a law firm recently, and he said, Christina, I'm a CTO here. It was never my remit to find an AI person, right? We're running a law firm that's got very interesting technology behind, but now I do need to attract AI talent. So that's something that companies start to think about and carve out budget for as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. So a whole stream of new jobs and new roles. And also that's really positive because, we started off with that conversation of Leah saying, there's no jobs for graduates, but actually they're not the traditional jobs, but the new ones are springing up. So I think that's a really nice way to be almost bringing our conversation to a close.
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a left field question for you, which is at the beginning you said, I'm also an investor. I think you said tech investor.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious, do you have any number one, have you received investment as a female founder? Because we know female founders get a lot less investment if invested in at all. But also, what do you look out for? Do you group with other people to invest? Do you look out for anything in particular? So just curious on that level.
Yeah, right. Okay. We can have a whole other podcast for this. Right. So on investment, we as First AI, we have take on investments, and we are very fortunate and that we have very supportive investors who open doors for us.
Great.
Make introductions. I mean, that's what entrepreneurs look for. That's what I set out to look for. Is not just pure money, but what can you also add to help us grow as a business. We have that. I know it's also investment volume valuation. There's plenty of data points about female founders on that. I'd say to all the female founders, if you're listening to this, really take advantage of that trend or whatever hot topic metric, whatever it is. Don't be shy. You are that female founder that they, can put money behind, whether that's for their own metric, etc. So I'm not shy about that. I want that quota. I want that capital, and we've been very successful with that. If you're asking me as an investor what I'm looking out for, early stages, I'm not sort of different from this. A lot of investors would say is the team. Is it something problem I really want to solve? Because the entrepreneurial journey is hard, right? With so many ups and downs. I say it's like the snakes and ladders game. You feel like, oh my God, you've got somewhere, and then you just hit a snake and back to square one, right? So is that team, the tenacity and the passion. Sometimes is really pure passion that's driving it, let's be honest. So that's what I'll be looking out for.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for answering that question. Yeah, I think it's a really important one. And it's just great to hear that you've been able to, as a company, get some investment. I think that's an inspirational story, and lots of great role modeling there. But also the fact that you also pay it forward when you can is beautiful to hear. So thank you. I hope you don't mind me asking that because I know you weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
I'll hand over to you, Leah.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite parts about running this podcast. It's the quick fire round. I feel like you get some of the most insightful little bits from this part. In one word, how would you describe the current state of AI adoption in the UK?
Diverging. It's a widening gap.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta keep up.
Yeah, you do. You really do. What's the most exciting AI application you've seen recently?
Oh, I get asked this a lot. Frankly, I'm not even personally keeping up with the 300,000, whatever it is. And even though I'm in the AI business, one that I personally really like and like quoting is one called Positive Spinner. It's basically a chat GPT or, Copilot, it doesn't matter. It sits on your whatever AI you use. And you can talk problems at it. You can tell it a problem and it will spin it into a positive for you. On a Monday morning, it's really good use case here is just like, oh God, it's Monday morning. I have this problem, that problem. And I'll say, well, okay, Christina, this is a learning opportunity here. And this is this and that. It will spin it into a positive. I think that that's an app. I think it's free anyway. You can just talk to it that everyone can use to make the world a better place or the Monday a better
Yeah.
time of the week.
I
Love
love
it.
that. Yeah, that sounds amazing, actually. Sounds really good. If you could give one piece of advice to someone starting their career in AI, what would it be?
Be a translator, understand the business side. Yeah, I think I don't need people listening here clearly interested in AI. I don't need to sort of talk about that. But that skill of being able to both understand business and technology, that's a golden skill. So go and hone on that.
Amazing. That is all my questions. Thank you so much for today's podcast. It's been amazing speaking to you. It's been really, really insightful.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to AI for Equity. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Stay curious, stay bold, and keep using AI to build a fairer future.